Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today we'll be starting up the Dash 8 Q400 from cold and dark. This means all systems are powered off and we'll be powering them on, and it's a flight from the gate, and we'll be flying around. Flight time will be around 30 minutes from Oslo to another place in Oslo. Turn on battery master, the main battery, the auxiliary and the standby battery. Turn on both generators on DC control, the main bus tie and external power if the GPU is connected. Then go to AC control, turn on external power and both gens. Then on the air conditioning, turn on recyc and both bleeds. Turn on the power and we'll see flashing lights on the APU panel. Turn on the start button. And then we'll see some master cautions there. Just remove the master cautions, as for now everything is good and there's no problems. Now we'll be going down to the flight management computer. Just click accept for everything. This is our initialization page. You can also click on other pages like the flight plan, but for now we have the flight plan already inserted from our computer, and we've made the flight plan already. Okay, also click accept on the other computer. And now make sure the parking brake is set, and the rudder trim will be putting that to normal. Turn on both radios so that we can communicate with the tower. And then we'll go back up. As the generator has started already, we can turn on bleed air. Turn on the engine starts to norm, and then we'll select engine. No, not yet. Yep, now we'll set our altitude. So we'll be setting 13,000 feet for this flight, as we can set up the autopilot right after takeoff. Once we set up the altitude, we can make the Dash 8 go up to that altitude, and then we'll level off there, which is also called the top of cruise. So for this, we've set the altitude of 13,000 feet, and now we'll be setting our V1 speeds. So this is the speed bug. Click the select on whatever speed you want to select. So this is our V1, and you can always change that. Now we'll be going to decision height and the MDA marker. Okay, so we've set 300 feet for DH because it's a precision approach, which is pretty foggy. So then we've got some more guidance, and MDA we've set as 1,500 feet since it's a non-precision approach, and as there's pretty much a lot of fog. So then DH lets you go lower and decide if we should land or not, and MDA makes you hold higher at the altitude of 1,500 feet, and then it says, okay, we should keep going. It's just a warning on the flight mode annunciator. Okay, now that we've set the DH and MDA markers on the flight mode annunciator, we can turn on both fuel pumps, turn on the standby hydraulic pressure, as it will go up, and the PTU control, and then the hydraulic 3 pressure. Now make sure that the parking brake is set and the throttle to disc. Turn on the condition levers to start and feather, and then remove the control lock. This means that you can move the controls freely. Select engine 2 and then click start. If the engine doesn't start, it means that you haven't had the APU on, so just go back to the video. And as our engine is rolling already, that's pretty good. And then we'll have some master cautions light up. Just click on them as it's okay. For now, as we haven't taken off yet, and as we're still doing the cold and dark setup. Turn on the safety exit lights to armed, and turn on all three piston static. Clear all master caution. And then this is our spoilers. We'll click taxi instead of flight, as we're just taxiing so far. Now select engine 1 and then click start. Now, so this is an example of what not to do. So right now our engine 1 isn't moving at all, but this is because we haven't set the condition levers to max yet. So now we'll set the condition levers to max. Yep, and turn off the hydraulic 3 pump. Now we'll try it again. Select engine 1 and then click start. And now our engine will start rolling. Clear all master caution again, as we're just starting from cold and dark so far. Yep, now we can see that both engines are rolling normally. Then we can turn off bleed air and the gen and power. Now the APUs are completely off. Turn on the lights, so the wing lights and the position lights. We can turn off the logo lights as we don't need them. Fasten seatbelts and no smoking signs. Now turn the air conditioning off, just the recycle button, and the external power for DC and AC control off. Now we'll do the fire tests, engine 1 and engine 2, and the APU tests. Yep, check again that both engines are running. And that the condition levers are at max, parking brake is set. And with that we can release the parking brake and we'll begin our taxiing. Yep. Turn on the head-up display and make sure that nose steering is selected on so that you can actually steer with the nose. What this means that the nose wheel in the front will start moving if you turn on the rudder. And we'll be taxiing to our assigned runway. Okay, after that we can turn on the spoilers to flight, as we have begun the taxiing phase and will be taking off shortly. So here's the exterior view. Both engines should be running properly, and so that we can see where we should be taxiing at. Our throttle is still at disk and set flaps 5 or whatever flaps you want to use to take off. But for this we'll be using flaps 5 as the runway is long enough and we have a good amount of throttle. And with that we'll be entering runway 35. Make sure your spoilers are set to flight, not taxi, and aligned to the runway pretty well. Make sure your heading is set and then turn on the parking brake to make sure it works pretty well. Also on the master caution panel, this should be the only thing happening. Turn on both landing lights. Yep, so this should be the only thing on the caution panel right now, the parking brake. Now this is how the DC control should look like, and pitot static should be on. Yep, I forgot, but the ground controller should be on. And yeah. This is how this panel should look like, the AC control and the air conditioning. APU should be off right now. Any master caution, clear them if it's only the parking brake at the moment. Set the heading marker again so that the autopilot can turn on easily. Conditional levers should be at max. Yep, at max. And rudder trim should be normal and our flaps should be at 5. Or whatever you want. Now we'll be pushing the yoke a bit to the front for the takeoff. And this is just so that we don't slip. Turn on full throttle and make sure that the engines are running. Yep, we have full throttle. Make sure the engines are running perfectly. And then we can release the parking brake once we know the engines are running. Okay, now we've begun our takeoff. Also look at the PFD, the primary flight display for the V1 speeds. Yep. Now V1, we will take off. positive range, gear up. And check that our gear is up. Now flaps back to normal, so 0. Now set our heading again. Make sure our heading is selected. And then, select the heading again. And then click the heading button, so heading select. And then click on vertical speed VS. Now you can switch our vertical speed, but right now this vertical speed is pretty good as we'll be climbing up. And then with vertical speed engaged, we can click autopilot, but that's only if the vertical speed and heading is engaged. Our speed is managed, autopilot is engaged, our gear is up, and our conditional levers are at 900. Maybe you can switch them to 850, depends on the climb, but at a cruising altitude, that's pretty good. And we'll be cruising up to 13,000 feet now. Thank you for our speed is managed. Thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe, and the next tutorial is on my page. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll be doing the approach and landing in the next tutorial. Check out my channel, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.